And then that leads us into a new space. We call this life coach, right? Coach and I, and it starts with me as a player and as a young teen, and having Coach King, my Uncle Roll, Coach Vest, Coach Honore, Coach Chucky, a bunch of different people around that were influences and that were helping me grow through life. And now I see myself in that space to where we're in a part of the world where coaches or trainers or anything, they're really like babysitters to an extent, right? You know, they're an activity. They kids are dropped off there, left there for an hour, maybe an hour 30 or two, and then picked back up.
Yep.
And whereas for us, you know, this business that we chose to go into was a choice, you know, like this dedication to enriching someone else's life is a choice because we do have options, right? We're not in a space to where if money starts to become an issue, we don't have any other option. You know, we can go teach, we can go start this, we can go do that. We're multifaceted. And because of basketball, we've been able to grow and do those things. But also because of basketball, we chose to use this sport to change lives.
Yep.
And to help people grow through life, because that's what we had when we were growing up. So, you know, there are different times when you and I are talking, whether it's in between training sessions or in between a water break, or maybe you got a wild YouTube video you sent, or maybe I talked to some guy and it sparked something. And we usually have these moments where it's like we're talking about life. And so this segment that we bring into you is called Life Coach. And we're just going to talk about some things that we've had pop up in different conversations with different people. And some we have discussed, some we haven't. But one of the first things that is something that I was working on, and then I had a young buck call me, was asking, crazy enough, it was EJ younger brother, right? One of my former teammates.
Wow.
Younger brother called me, sent me a message and was like, yo, Yates, I want to rap to you. He saw I got married, and he's like, yo, I know you. Like, how did you get to that point where you were like, all right, this is the woman that I want to be with the rest of my life, and I'm going to take that responsibility of being, you know, a man and everything else. One of the things I told him is like, yo, you got to work on you.
Yep.
And the one thing I do notice is that, like, with podcasts and things now, everybody's kind of regurgitating the same shit. Everybody's saying the same stuff, and they saying it at surface level. But he asked me a question. He's like, that's it. I got to work on me. He said, but bro, what does that mean? And it had me think and was like, yo, that's a good question. What does that mean? You know, like if you tell a young buck to work on himself or a young lady to work on herself, like, how would you map that out for them? Because you know now you got to give somebody like almost a step-by-step play on how to do that. How would you tell somebody to work on you? Like, or how would you say to put together a soft plan?
Well, let's go back. You say you got to give everybody a play-by-play, almost instructional kit in terms of what to do, because everybody's so used to things being given to them now. There's not as much ambition to go seek out information.
No encyclopedia.
And go the extra mile. Yeah, like you don't know about that. Like, man, those things were heavy. You know, I always look at it like working on you is finding out what makes you tick, what makes you happy. Because ultimately, you can't impact somebody's life positively if you're not happy. And if you don't know what makes you happy, you don't have any goals in life. You don't dream. You don't have any quick victories that you can achieve during the day in terms of like little things that just get you through, that put a smile on your face. Then it is going to be very hard to be in a union with somebody and make them happy, or even possibly be successful in a career or be a successful teammate, because you just don't know what it is you want. And that's the thing. So people have to seek that out. You know, for me, you know, some of my little victories throughout the day is after a long, strenuous day of work, which is every day, if I can sit down and, you know, and hear some some good music, and I got, maybe a drink, my favorite donuts or something, I can sit back and just relax.
Mhm.
That's a small victory for me that makes me happy and keeps me content so I can continue my journey to find my overall happiness.
Mhm.
And, some people don't know that,
Yeah.
and that's, seeking what you truly desire is really hard for some
Yeah.
people.
And that's one aspect, right?
Yep.
Of knowing how to it's like maintenance, self-maintenance,
Yep.
right? And now to the other side of that, every off season we got to work on a weakness,
Yep.
right? It's like this year I was terrible going to my left off my pull-up. So all in summer, I'm going to make sure I put 500 extra each day there, right? But how do you identify, because you got to work on you. That means you got to work on what's not good. Right? So how have you identified or been able to identify a weakness, or maybe somebody pointed it out for you and you didn't know, how did you react to it? And then what did you do to take care of it?
Well, for me, I've said this before. One of my glaring weaknesses is that I don't trust anybody.
Mm.
And the reason I don't trust anybody is just because from an early age, I've had people say one thing and they do something else.
Yeah.
And so, in order for me to find out that was a weakness of mine, I've had to look back and see that some people that are no longer in my life, or some other opportunities that I may have had that were unsuccessful, and I have to look at why they were unsuccessful. And that may be because maybe I didn't trust in someone else to help me with something, or maybe I didn't trust in someone enough to confide in them and give myself a platform to get things off my chest and have somebody give me feedback, to give me their point of view. And so for me, is my every summer, every New Year's, I say I have to make sure I open up to people a little bit more, because I'm overbearing. I'm always giving information, and I hardly ever receive. And I'll say this to you: you're one of the few younger guys that I know that I'll actually listen to 30% of what you say. That's just how I am. I'm stuck in my ways, but I've gotten better. I'll take something that someone does or what they say outside of my area, and I'll take that and put it in perspective. But when people are talking directly to me, if I don't ask you for something, I zone out a lot of times. And so I've been trying to do better with that. You've seen me in meetings where I get up and say, I got to go, Yates, can you take care of this? Because I'm going to end up saying or doing something that is probably going to hurt us in the long run. So,
that's a time thing though. Because like if you would have identified that and had the space to work on that when you were 30, might have been more willing to adjust a little bit, right? Because now you're like, at this age, I ain't got time to be.
Yeah, I don't.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't put in too much time. So I'm not, because you afforded yourself that. So that's what makes it tough too. Because even for the older generation, we're talking about bridging the gap. I got to work on me. Our younger groups got to work on us. But when you get older, it doesn't mean you stop.
Right.
You still got to work on it. And you probably got to be even more intentional about it because you don't want to, because you feel like, shit, I am who I am. You know?
Yeah.
So no, that's cool. I think, I know one of the biggest things for me is, I got like a small library in the apartment. Even I brought a lot of books with me from home, and I brought a lot of new ones. And for secluding myself, because I was at a point where I was in grad school, and I was like, all right, I'm in this space now to where I have the atmosphere and environment for me to work on the things that I know I'm struggling with, and then to learn how to work through them. Because some people talk about therapy, right? I've never been to therapy, but one of the professors that I'm close with, shout out to Deanna, she comes from that environment. And then I was on a university campus. So they help point some things out that, a lot of things we carry. And I'll say this, right? I met my wife when I was, I was 27. 27 going on 28, or I had just turned 28 and she was 25 going on 26, right? And so when you think about this, from that point on, I spent 25, 26, 27 years of my life doing everything, like all my habits, everything that happened to me from a child on up, that's what she sees, right? That's what she gets of me, is everything from that 27 years. Typically you get together, we've only been together 3 years, right? And 27 years of my stuff are my old habits, the old ways of me thinking, the old ways of me doing anything, the experiences I had, the traumas that I've had. That's what I carry with me, right? And so when I got to 25 and I had somebody kind of help me identify, it's like, yo, you're doing this because you're struggling with that. If I didn't take the time to sit and work with that, knowing that eventually I was going to work with somebody that I had to be able to trust, listen to, talk to, take some guidance from, then I wouldn't be able to take advantage of those opportunities. Right. So, like, because you spend more time away from that person, right? You thinking that maybe I can spend the next 27 years with her or him, whoever it is, if you're a woman listening, and you're like, man, so I got to work on everything that I might have done wrong or I was taught wrong or all those things I went through, because the life that I lived is completely different from the life that she lived, right? And then she got 25 years of experience that I'll never know or understand that may have created some things. So it's like I took a lot of time to read, do a whole lot of self-reflecting. But it's important now, you talk about information age, you got to be careful where you're getting your information from.
Yep.
You know, because we talked about it today with, social media and there being more positive things out there. But now it's not as organic. There's an algorithm to where they're tailoring what you see. Right? If you like certain things, if you do certain things, now they're going to make sure you see everything related to that and not necessarily what comes up at that time. And so you're not seeing what you need to see. So I took some time to seek out information. I was like, man, I'm not good at this. Where can I go and get this? And did some reading and stuff. And so that way I kind of created a habit. Whenever I get stuck or I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, instead of me just sulking, I'm like, all right, there's an answer for this somewhere, right? And so I get into that space to where it's like, all right, I'm struggling with the marketing stuff. Like, we don't know, we need to figure it out. Well, I go search for something so I can see and get it. So working on you for me was identifying your struggles, your weaknesses, and then taking it into action, right? For some people, it may be therapy. For other people, it may be reading. But it doesn't mean isolation.
Right.
Because I know for me, we're hoopers, right? And so sometimes we just get in the zone to where we just want to be in the gym. We want to be around that environment, some competitive stuff, but then we want to be away. That's because basketball was our coping mechanism. What I was learning, and I told Young Buck, working on you doesn't mean you go away from everybody.
That may change though. So you're young in the game in terms of teaching right now. Mm-hmm. 5 more years of just teaching.
Yeah.
You might say, I need to get away.
Well, I'm saying get away from like those that, you got your inner circle, right? If we go, big circle, like the guys that you'll kick it, catch a brew with, watch the game, chill, it's all here. But to be working on you doesn't mean you have to completely separate yourself from every single body. But, work, yes.
But even then, there's times where it's me and my significant other where we have to just get away.
That's true. That's another point, though.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So down the road, you may say, me and my wife, we're going here.
Yeah.
And we're away from everybody. But we will come back and we will spend time, break bread with our inner circle, whatever.
Yeah.
But we need a moment because we got to work on us.
Yeah.
Because now it's really not going to be just you. It's going to be us. So
yeah. And that's a good point that you bring up, because even within our marriage, even though it's young, we need time apart.
Yep.
Right? Like, not like, yo, she goes to this side of where I go, but like, are you going to the gym today? You gonna get your nails done? You gonna go do this and that just so you can kick it, chill. And for me, I'm always thinking about something, trying to figure something out. And she knows that. And she knows sometimes I just need my space to where I'm by myself. Just let him, do what he's doing. But if you don't work on you, you can't communicate that. Because there's those moments where I don't feel like being bothered.
Right.
And if she doesn't know why, then she may feel like it's because of her. Right. But it's like, nah, I just get into a moment to where I get really, really locked in. And it's like something that I feel like I'm missing. I got to figure it out. And I just need this block of space for me. Right. And part of working on you is being able to identify that, because when you both need to dip too.
Yeah. So let's be clear on this for everybody. When Coach says she goes here on a trip with the girls, a 6-hour flight away, and you go with the boys 6 hours. No, you don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Time away could be you're on one side of Dubai for evening. I'm on the other side for evening, and more so it means if you're in a relationship with somebody, you gotta make sure you get a place that has a separate space in that place. You have to, because if you've seen during COVID, there's so many people that broke up.
Yeah. Because you didn't really know them, and then you found out you don't really like them.
Right. And you didn't have any separation. So you got to have, if it's in the basement, that's his space. The third floor and the second floor, third bedroom is her space. It's got to be some type of in-house separation just throughout the day that you can, get away from each other, because it plays a part in your relationship.
Crazy, because we just found our new apartment, alhamdulillah, and it's 2-bedroom, big thing, so we can make some other stuff, and it goes much bigger space. And she always like, yeah, that's yours. So we prepare for, so that's definitely big time. But that's the type of things that you learn about yourself, right? Like understanding who you are, what moves you, what's important to you, what you can't tolerate, what you will tolerate. And then that moves us into that second question, right? You working on you, and you'll always be doing that, because you never stop doing that, right? Because it's always a journey to grow and get closer and closer, because none of us are perfect. But what's the best way to help others, without being like, my way is the best way? Or for me, I'm an older brother. And I'm an older brother who had to sometimes take on a role that felt like a father in some space, right? And I had to learn that I can give my suggestions, but he don't have to do what I say.
Right.
Right? And so it went from me telling him and him not doing things and us fighting about it to me realizing, he got to carry his own journey, walk his own walk, just like we all do. So the way you deliver your message is a little bit different. So so you've been doing it a lot longer than me with kids from rich backgrounds, kids that aren't, kids that got both parents, kids that don't, like kids that are raising themselves. What's some of the best advice that you can give for that?
Oh, man, it varies case by case, well, kid by kid, I say case by case. And I try to stick to a few things, and you've been around me a long time, so you'll be able to know that whether it's BS or not. But I always try to stick to a few things. One, lead. I like to lead by example. I can't preach about what you should or shouldn't be doing if I'm not living my life the right way. I'm always, I let kids know, players know, whatever, that, I make mistakes as well, but I try to lead a good life each day. And I'm consistent with my message each time. There's probably some key words or phrases that don't even pertain to basketball, but that people that have been around me know that, yeah, that's Coach. That's he said that for sure.
Yeah.
I listen. I'm always, no matter what age someone is, 6 years old, some of the older guys I had that were, 32, 33, I listen, and give honest feedback. I don't sugarcoat anything. Honesty is best for people. So that way they can kind of figure out, well, it's not exactly what I wanted to hear, But what Coach was saying 2 weeks ago, it's what I needed. And so now I can make a better decision. Just because I have somebody being honest with me, such as you talked about some of the other academies. If a kid isn't that good, we're gonna let you know that, hey, you're not that good yet. If you put forth the effort, then you can be really good. You have a lot of potential. I like to give examples of my failures, and I rarely give examples of my successes. 'Cause I figure, if someone's gonna really take what you say to heart, they'll be able to see your successes anyway, because it's something that you're successful every day in what you're doing. And I always believe in giving. And so I give a lot of my time to people, even when I may not feel like it, I may not have the time, but I invest in people in that sense. I don't listen to a lot of people, especially those, but I invest in young people for sure.
Yeah, that's big time. We gotta, because a lot of that stuff, you doing that and me seeing you do that, I do a lot of those same things, right? And then another way is I ask like probing questions, right? I was learning to kind of help people, lead people into them finding their answer themselves by just asking the right questions, having them dig a little bit deeper. Well, have you thought about it this way?
Right.
Or did you consider that and that to go with it? And then help people. I think one of the biggest things that helped me and that I always reiterate to people is that, like, what foundation do you use when you're making your decisions? What is it that's guiding you throughout this life? There's got to be one thing that is solid, and no matter what is going on, whether you're making a decision about just buying a house, making an investment, marriage, career, there got to be the same foundation that identifies you, what you'll pass down to your kin and your kids. And I always say you got to figure out what those for the brand, right? If you're building a brand, they always say, what are your pillars? What are your 5 pillars that take care of your brand? Right. I just worked on it because we work on some things, and I put culture, community, and character for us at Who Mounts. Right. Okay. And so for me, I always say, well, what helped, I talk to people and I say, what helped me make this decision is that I realize that every decision that I have to make and I'm going to make, it can't be based on a fleeting desire. It can't be based on money. It can't be based on something that's going to be temporary. They got to be based on something that are non-negotiable. And so I always say, is my respecting tact? Can I trust this person? Right? Does it take away from anybody in my family? Right? Is my honor still intact? Right? Am I still who I am as a man? Am I going to be in a leading position? If any of those things are compromised, then I'm not making that decision. Or if all of those check the box, then it's worth the fight. It's worth the wait. Right? So when you can identify what things are really non-negotiable for you, it'll make making those decisions a lot easier. Right? Because that's all an internal fight. It's not based on anybody else's thing. And so I get there, and that leads into the next space to where when you figure out what foundation you want to set for yourself, now you get to figure out what you want. Like, what is it that you want in life now that you know? Right? What is it that you value? And it's like, why is it important to identify that and build around it? And then what happens when you do that for you and for the people around you? And I'll say, for me, I figure out that time is most important to me, right? Time, autonomy, right? And really that, time, autonomy, respect, right? And then teamwork, because that's something that's always been there, right? And then, the personal things are always there. But time and autonomy, big. Being able to control my time and not be under the guise of somebody else's stuff is huge. Like, that's how I knew I couldn't work traditional space. And if I did have to do it, because sometimes we got to sacrifice, it got an expiration date. So I had to figure out in between there what I'm going to sacrifice in order for me to be that way.
Right.
Right.
If I have to work under somebody, it needs to be somebody that I trust and love to be around, and I believe in them. Then I'm okay with working under somebody. But if I'm just taking orders from somebody that I don't, that doesn't have those qualities, and it's a particular job that I may not have a passion for, you mentioned having an expiration date. I say it's got to be a well-paying job that will allow me to have an expiration date.
Word.
So if I have that, then I'm okay because I know I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. But if it's something that, for example, if it's something in Florida that I could have is for a job and I'm making X amount of dollars and I don't really feel it, but I can go to Nevada, I can go to Cali, I can go to Washington and get the same job, I'm leaving.
Fact. See, that's important because you think about like it's keystones and there's milestones. Like there's little small victories along the way, or little small things that, that come and go to make it cook. And some people think like, I want access, right? What does access mean? And then when you get that access and you see what's there and you see access doesn't come with anything tangible, you're like, that's a keystone to get you some access, but what does that access lead to? Does it lead to the big milestone at the end to allow you to get the freedom that you want? Right? Or some people want to be like the Black Godfather, right? Connections with any and everybody, because, your social network is your currency at times, right? I can get anywhere and do anything because of who I know. So maybe that's what your milestone is, and that's what's important. But it's important to identify those things because if you don't, the people around you will start to deal with the consequences of that, your frustrations, right? Like people never, ever have the same energy for the people that cause them the trouble as they do their loved ones, right?
Oh, man. I have that. That drives me through the roof, man. Like, listen, there's some people in my family that know, like, that upsets me more than anything. You're giving me all that fire and brimstone, but that's the gist of your problems over there.
And we just smiling and herky-jerky and all happy.
I can't stand that.
Man. And so if you can't identify what you want out of something, right? And you can't be like, does this meet my pillars of who I want to be? And you just floating around on there, you always going to feel uneasy about it. You always going to have a beef, right? But you're not going to have a leg to stand on.
Right.
Because you're not going to be able to say, how can I justify saying I'm going to stay in Dubai and risk whatever else it is I'm risking, not getting the money I may think I'll be able to make at the crib or being around the family? How can you justify making that decision if you don't have those other things already identified? Right? And so now you're just floating around, you're bouncing job to job, or maybe you're bouncing relationship to relationship, or with social media era, you're listening to what somebody else defines as success. And you're tabling that and saying, maybe that's what success is for me too.
Well, the advantage you have, because you were talking about, what does it mean to work on you? I wrote down support team and certain. And so you have mentioned your mom, Coach Rowland, your AAU coaches, which I knew which were good people, Coach Thomas, Coach Jones,
Lisa,
Coach Rowland's wife, Lisa. You mentioned me. You have a damn good support team. Of guys that have different experiences in life. Because when you talked about bouncing around and floating, that was me. And that was me, when I was playing. I'm over here. I'm in a good spot. They love me. I'm playing well. I like my team, everything. But man, but if I'm over there, I might be making more. But then I go over there and realize I was like, I should have stayed my ass there. So, but that comes with experience. But that's why I say all the time, the older guys have to give, because if you have knowledge from those experiences and you don't share them with anybody,
Wasted.
You're no different than everybody else. You're just full of smoke. You know what I'm saying? So,
and then that's important. So exactly, right? So part of that where I just said what you know and find out what you want and growing into that, how it affects the people around you. On the flip side, when you go through those things and you learn, now the people that are under you, they have a leg to stand on. They stand on your shoulders because now you can share that with them because you figured that out. Now you can pass that. Hove went through that, so you ain't have to, right? You know, so that's the moment of that, and take care of that stuff. And then to round it out, we get into how environment or culture sets the table for development, or maybe not reaching their potential or exceeding it, right? And so if we look at it in a basketball context, I mean, we literally talked about Bronny before, right? Or how for a lot of us in America, in places like the DMV, you know, it's a small difference between the top and the cream of the crop, and unless you're just a generational talent special, it's a small difference. And a lot of times it's the culture and environment, right? I could easily say that if I was at a private school, if you were my coach at a private school and we had the private school structure, resources, and the backing, my basketball career would have been different. Completely different, right? It wouldn't have been like, you can't play pro. Do you want to go do this? But it would have been more like, yeah, pro is definitely an option. It's going to be on the table. Okay, you just got to work a little bit different. Or for other places to where there's some kids that overachieved, and they overachieved because they had a parent or uncle who played 10 years. So if you starting with the blueprint that they have, they're going to switch off, right? Or even if we don't talk about basketball, we just talk about life, right? Somebody might grow up in a culture that is pushing them all to be all studies, right? Sciences, no creative arts. You're going to be a doctor. You're going to be something like that because that's the only thing that we see. Right, but that may be limiting. That may push them away to something else, or it may create some type of strife, pushing them to drugs or something because they need an outlet because they couldn't be themselves. But talk about culture and environment and how, as adults, we have to be more intentional about creating it.
You know, as adults, man, you have kids. Even as coaches, you want the best for your kids. You want the best for your players. And you want to provide for them. But we get into a situation sometimes where our agenda may not fit that situation, you know? And so we force kids down a path without really giving them a chance to decide what they want to do.
Man.
You know, and so we have to do a better job of recognizing what our kid actually wants, what our kid actually needs. You know, everything our kid needs, it needs to be there. We need to be consistent with it. But we definitely need to make sure we continuously ask what our kid wants. We have to give them different opportunities, give different options for them to make a sound decision in what they want. And we have to monitor that. You know, we can't, you mentioned before, just going somewhere, drop your kid off, boom. You know, if you're going to pay for something and spend time with that activity or whatever, you need to know what's going on. You know, and that's why we, you know, I will say this, just going back to the Hoop Mountain, we do a good job of making sure we make contact with parents and we stay engaged with them. And this is not just, oh, Jimmy's coming in for 3 classes each week. No, we're invested in Jimmy because Jimmy represents us. Jimmy's going to help us build the culture here. Jimmy's going to help us, you know, cultivate the next group of players come through. You know, Jimmy's one day going to be a coach in training. You know, Jimmy's going to be a mouthpiece for Hoop Mountain. So, you know, he's an extension of us. So, that, you know, that's what we have to do, man. You know, the worst thing in the world is forcing somebody into something because you were successful at, or you weren't successful and you're living your dreams through them, or that's the only thing you know. And that's where we get stuck sometimes as older people, thinking that we know everything. We don't know everything, you know, and, you know, what works best for you. You may have a lineage of 5 generations of lawyers in your family, but the 6th generation, that may not be them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They can be successful in something else.
You mentioned something earlier too. They gotta be honest.
Yep.
Right? But not too honest. you gotta spoon feed them. Like, be honest with your kids. Create that environment to where you can talk candidly. And also remember, your kids stand on, I say this all the time, they stand on the shoulders of the generation before them. So the kids now, although they are 7, 8, and 9, they have at their hands what you did not have at your hands at 7, 8, and 9. So their ability to understand is a little bit different. So massage that, work with that, and use that to kind of understand and hold them accountable, right? Because a lot of times we have more expectation than some parents do of their kids, because we look at them and see them objectively, like, yo, this kid he's really, really smart.
Yeah.
Right. I know that's your baby. You've seen him grow from there, but he's smarter than you think. Right. Very witty. He's aware of what he's doing. Let's work with that, enable that, help him grow into that, but make sure they're being accountable with it. Right. So you're growing it. Because what we realized, as with Hoop Mountain, we've been going to a lot of events lately. And we realized that, you know, a lot. Adults, when it comes to children and creating atmospheres and creating things, adults ruin everything. Because it's our decisions about everything. What a kid sees, they had no idea what the other options could have possibly been, right? They just take what's in front of them. But us as adults, we have to be more deliberate in giving them a full effort and creating an environment for them that allows them to be able to make a choice without anything lacking. Because it's one thing to say, hey, I'm not going to play basketball. I'm going to go play football. But it's different if you can see basketball fully for what it is, the entire environment, the sneaker culture, the music, the people on the mic, the crowd going crazy, the fans over there from that side, the fans there from this side, seeing that entire environment, seeing how that goes, and then seeing the entire football environment, and then seeing the entire rugby environment, and then being able to choose based on that, instead of giving a half-ass performance for this sport and then giving an even worse one for this one. Right. And then saying, all right, but this one right here is wrapped in gold, so we'll go there, right? Like, we literally dictate all of that. If we give them the option by giving them everything set up, it's like, boom, this is what it's like to really be in that space. This is what it's like, even if that goes on with a career path. Like, if your kid wants to be an artist or they want to be a sculptor, but you want them to be a doctor, don't take them to the world's most renowned surgeon to watch something and then take them around back to sip and paint. Right. Let them see the Lord. Let them go see all of that in its fullest so that they can go and make their own choices. Yeah. Right? And so talk about potential. Because think about how many kids or how many players you've ran across that didn't meet their potential on and off the court. Right. Because of the environment they're in. Right. And I guess we both would agree accountability is important. That's like, that right there is a pillar. They got to be in everything. Right. Always holding each other accountable in those things. You got anything you want to piggyback off of on that?
No, I think we've been a little long-winded with it. I mean, it all boils down to just creating, different opportunities for the kids to see what's out there and giving them a chance to decide on their own. And once they make some decisions, then we push them full throttle forward to see how far they can go with it. We support them, but not just forcing them down one path. Because at a young age, you have no idea what you want to do. Very few kids have an idea of, this is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. Most of them, I don't know, I just want to try it. Yeah. And that's what we run into here. Because that's why, because our particular industry is basketball. That's why basketball isn't one of the top sports because they just haven't had a chance to play.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't had a chance to be exposed to it. So, we're changing that, as you see. And now that we're here and we've been genuine in terms of our approach, you see that some other academies are following suit. And if everybody starts to do that, then we'll change the overall culture here, in one way or the other, and it'll be good for everybody, you know? And so...
and that leads me to the other point. Quitting. Right, holding somebody accountable is also not allowing them to quit, because what we do see a lot of is after the honeymoon phase, after you've gotten to the point where, we make basketball so easy, ABC, 1, 2, 3 at the beginning. And so once you get it quick and we see what level you are and where we think your potential can take you, and now we hold you accountable.
Yep.
And it's not just fun and games. We have that space to where it's a new space we're creating. Yep. And their parents haven't created it a lot in different ways. We're pushing you.
Yep.
You're feeling uncomfortable. You're feeling like, if I don't meet expectations, then I got to be held accountable. I got to do push-ups. I got to run, turnover or something. But it's important. So it's different between not enjoying something because you're being neglected, but not enjoying it because you're not good at it and wanting to quit. We don't want that to become a habit.
Right.
That's a cultural thing too. It's like, that's the wrong side of the culture.
Right.
You don't quit.
Yep.
You keep learning, you keep pushing. That's the whole reason why we're saying basketball is for everybody.
Yep.
Because you're going to learn how to get to that brick wall, and you're going to try to use every tool you possibly can to break it down. One way or another, you're going to figure it out.
Break it down, go over it, go around it. You're going to figure out a way.
Yes, but don't quit.
Yep.
But, we gave you guys a 3-part series today. We know that we had to feed the streets because it's been a while.
Yep.
So we gave you some good bites. You know how we ended. Quick post-game wrap-up. I know Coach probably got a quick hitter for you guys, so I'll let you go.
All right. For me, we've had a long 2 weeks, just basically being in the gym all day, which is what we love, but it is exhausting because we are running a business as well, and we are understaffed. But I'm going to say, pick your battles. The reason I say pick your battles is because it's very rare that you're going to go and win the war in one day.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to chip away at it until you finally achieve your goal. And so, like for us recently, we've been under a lot of stress, trying to finish out the year strong and in different fashion compared to what we've done the previous years. Because like Coach said, now we're at a stage where we're trying to take the next step with most of our players and our teams. And so we're trying to get a lot of things in this year before we end, and to start fresh next year, because we have a lot in store for our guys, a lot of exciting things. And so we have to, day by day, take care of one thing, take care of the second thing, take care of the third thing, and just chip away at it, and and pick our spots each day, pick our battles, and just make sure that we keep everything in perspective, that we have one goal in common, that is to win the war. Yeah. And so we just take our time and do our best job. And so we don't skip anything. We don't give a half-assed effort.
Yeah, that's big time. For me, I would, we would end it something simple again. Don't let your dreams die. There's always a different twist to it. You can rewrite that recipe. You can turn it into something different, but don't let them die. Doesn't mean that you have to, if you have a child, then, you try to live your dream through them. But there's always another way, there's always another way to do that. But yeah, don't let your dreams die and keep pushing. You guys know what it is. BTG Nation, thank you guys for being supportive, for us, for coming in and commenting and liking and sharing and all that good stuff. It's tough every week to come. It's a lot that goes into each Tuesday when we get here and record, but thank you guys for holding it down. We definitely have at least one more coming for you guys before we end the season. Hoop Mountain Dubai, Hoop Mountain DXB, Hoop Mountain.ae online. We have some new stuff coming branding wise as well. So we are always working. As you guys know, to end it, keep it real, keep it simple, keep going.
Player and coach, the brother to brother. They both got views that you need to discover. From sports, current events to just life talk. Whether you on a fast break or a nice walk, gotta tune in. You already know, G. This BTG Nation and you one of the homies. Just tune in. You already know, G. BTG Nation, the other ones in the nosebleeds.